Star Trek gives a reason why Starfleet admirals turn evil. Star Trek is no stranger to evil Starfleet admirals, but Star Trek Lower Decks introduces an admiral who has a reason why he turned. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 is the animated comedy's final season on Paramount+, and it continues to explore new and hilarious aspects of life in Starfleet. In Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 3, The Best Exotic Night Hotel, LT. Radward Boimler Jack Quaid hunts for Admiral Milius Toby Huss, who went AWOL with Vacation Madness on the interstellar cruise ship, the Cosmic Duchess. Star Trek Lower Decks has had encounters with corrupt Starfleet admirals before. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3's big bad was Admiral Les Bonamigo, Carlos Alazraqui, who sought to replace the California-class Armada, which includes the USS Cerritos, with his own Texas-class starships. The AI-controlled Texas-class fleet turned evil and attacked Starfleet, including Admiral Bonamigo, who was killed by his own creation. But Starfleet never seems to learn when it comes to their own flag officers turning on the United Federation of Planets. In Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 3, The Best Exotic Night Hotel, Brad Boimler, Commander Jack Ransom, Jerry O'Connell, and LT. Commander Andy Billups, Paul Scheer, locate Admiral Milius in the Temple of Dread aboard the Cosmic Duchess. Milius, an elite Latinum member of the cruise ship, was in hiding because he was furious at Starfleet for how he was treated. Milius's reason for turning was because Starfleet routinely assigned him humiliating missions involving milking space whales. Admiral Milius's grievance with Starfleet is understandable, even if he went about his protest wrongly. Starfleet repeatedly siloed Milius into the same embarrassing missions. It turns out, even in alternate Star Trek realities, Admiral Milius is still known for milking space whales. However, Milius got a shot at redemption after the USS Cerritos' crew discovered the USS Endeavour, a starship from a microscopic dimension trapped in the Prime Universe. Admiral Milius returned to duty with a mission to bring the Endeavour back to its proper universe. The sheer number of evil Starfleet admirals, aka Badmirals, has plagued Star Trek for decades. Power corrupts, and the power gained after achieving the flag officer rank in Starfleet seems to twist the minds and hearts of formerly exemplary Starfleet officers. Admirals like Cartwright Brock Peters in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, or Leighton Robert Foxworth on Star Trek Deep Space Nine are driven by fear of Starfleet enemies so that they form conspiracies or coups to divert power into their hands in order to protect the Federation. Other dastardly Starfleet admirals who believe they act for the greater good are Admiral Doherty Anthony Zierb, who was willing to steal the Briar Patch and forcibly relocate the Baku in Star Trek Insurrection, and Admiral Pressman Terry O'Quinn, who violated a treaty with the Romulans to create a cloaking device on Star Trek The Next Generation. Admiral Alexander Marcus Peter Weller tried to militarize Starfleet and start a war with the Klingons in Star Trek Into Darkness. In Star Trek, one of the recurring and intriguing elements is the tendency for Starfleet admirals to sometimes fall from grace and turn evil or corrupt. From a narrative standpoint, it serves to create tension and conflict within the utopian ideals of the Star Trek universe. But within the world itself, there are deeper, more nuanced reasons why this happens. Starfleet admirals, entrusted with enormous responsibility, often walk a fine line between maintaining order in the galaxy and becoming obsessed with control or making morally questionable decisions. There are several thematic explanations for this trend, each connected to the broader ideas of power, idealism, and the challenges of leading in an unpredictable universe. The weight of responsibility and power. One of the most significant reasons admirals turn evil is the sheer burden of responsibility they carry. As leaders of Starfleet, admirals are tasked with ensuring the safety of not just Earth, but potentially the entire United Federation of Planets. This responsibility often requires them to make difficult decisions, including managing delicate diplomatic relations, fending off hostile alien species, and navigating internal Federation politics. The pressure to safeguard billions of lives can be overwhelming, pushing them to the edge of reason. In some cases, this pressure manifests as a belief that the ends justify the means. admirals may feel that in order to protect the Federation from existential threats like the Borg, Dominion, or Romulans, they must bend or even break Starfleet's core values of peaceful exploration and mutual cooperation. This mindset can lead them down a dark path where moral compromises become acceptable for the greater good, ultimately corrupting their once noble intentions. As they become more convinced of their own righteousness, they begin to see themselves as indispensable or above the rules, which can foster a dangerous sense of superiority and infallibility. Isolation from ground-level reality. As admirals rise through the ranks, they often find themselves increasingly disconnected from the reality experienced by Starfleet officers on the front lines. While captains and their crews are out exploring strange new worlds and engaging directly with the unknown, admirals operate from a more removed strategic vantage point. This distance from direct engagement can lead to a detachment from the everyday challenges and moral dilemmas that Starfleet personnel face, making it easier for admirals to make decisions that seem logical in theory but are ethically questionable in practice. This isolation can also foster a kind of intellectual elitism, where admirals begin to prioritize grand strategies and political maneuvering over the lived experiences of the people they command. Without the grounding influence of direct exploration and diplomacy, they may lose sight of the core values that Starfleet was founded on. This shift in perspective can cause them to view Starfleet as less of an organization dedicated to peaceful exploration and more as a tool for consolidating power or protecting the Federation's interests at any cost. The seduction of power and ambition. Power has a corrupting influence, and admirals wield more power than almost anyone else in Starfleet. They have the authority to command entire fleets, dictate policy, and make decisions that can alter the fate of entire worlds. For some, the accumulation of this much power becomes intoxicating. They begin to see themselves not just as protectors of the Federation, but as individuals who can reshape the galaxy according to their own vision. In Star Trek, there have been numerous instances where admirals let their ambition get the best of them. Admiral Cartwright in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, for example, became involved in a conspiracy to sabotage peace talks between the Federation and the Klingons, driven by a desire to preserve the Federation's military strength rather than pursue diplomacy. Similarly, Admiral Marcus in Star Trek Into Darkness pursued a secretive and aggressive plan to militarize Starfleet in preparation for war with the Klingon Empire, believing that only through preemptive strikes could the Federation be kept safe. In both cases, the admirals allowed their ambition and vision of a secure future to override their ethical obligations. Fear of the unknown and existential threats. One of the core tenets of Star Trek is that space is vast, mysterious, and often dangerous. Admirals, having seen the threats that exist in the galaxy, whether from hostile alien species or powerful, unpredictable forces like the Q continuum, may develop a deep-seated fear of the unknown. This fear can drive them to take extreme measures to protect the Federation, leading them down a path of authoritarianism, secrecy, and even tyranny. For example, Admiral Doherty in Star Trek Insurrection becomes complicit in an ethically dubious plan to relocate the Baku people in order to gain access to a planet's unique regenerative properties, hoping to use the planet's resources to secure a technological advantage for the Federation. His actions are motivated by the belief that the Federation must seize every opportunity to protect itself from external threats, even if it means violating its own principles. The loss of optimism and idealism. The Star Trek universe is built on the idea of a utopian future where humanity has